we need a little bit of work with your breathing, or we need to focus on breath work here. So let's split it up and record it. Let's record the verse in halves, for example, or let's go line by line. It's part of my job to identify those weaknesses or those strengths in the singer that is in the booth with me. And it's all about, sensing when the person is feeling comfortable or uncomfortable, making sure that there is, a very clear, transparent line of communication between me and the artist, so that they can let me know when maybe they're starting to feel a little bit of strain, or I guess tell me when maybe they're not feeling like they're getting the take, or they want to break, things like that.
Yeah, it's hard to. I think it's amazing how well you were able to define it, because I feel like vocal sessions, there's like a lot of like vibe, but it's hard to kind of describe what really happens there, because you kind of just sense if the artist is having a good vocal day, or you could sense if they're how far you can actually push them.
Yes.
Maybe you have to stop there,
Definitely.
or maybe I could push you harder.
Yeah. Yes.
And you kind of learn on the fly how, at least the first time, especially the first time with an artist recording vocals, you really don't know what you're in for.
That's the scariest. And I think part of my process is, for example, I have a lot of clients coming through to me on just via my website or via Instagram. I always listen to everything. And just as you said, you can tell by listening to someone how far you can push them, or maybe how far they have been pushed, how well they know the strengths of their voice, how well they know to kind of articulate words. And I guess you can hear how much control they have. Also, how much creative license you as a vocal producer can give. Yeah, I suppose, in a sense. Sometimes I have recorded people who just get the vocal performance of their last chorus in one take. If it's a sassy pop banger, there's an element of voice acting in capturing a good vocal performance. I think as a vocalist, you really need to, especially in pop, nail that. It could be, bouncing off of your consonants or opening up your vowels, things like that. Some people already know. It's intuitive to them how to do that. Other people might need a little bit of a nudge or a reminder of how to effectively get there, Yeah. But it's exactly what you said. Again, I do listen to those demos, and then from that point forward, I say, I love this track that you sent. The demo sounding amazing. Would you like me to do just a little bit of arrangement and in some of the spaces, and maybe we can see how far we can take it. And then I, using kind of my background vocal arrangement, they're just usually there to support what's already going on. I look to identify references for the song and references for the artist. A song reference when I'm vocal producing or making the vocal arrangement will help me see what kind of background vocals might fit in with the track. So if someone's telling me like, here's my Ariana Grande reference, for example, I might be like, okay, so listen to that reference a few times, maybe find another artist that I can draw inspiration from, and then build the vocals that way. And I find an artist reference for their song that we're recording, which helps me identify how to approach coaching them. Like who can I listen to who already has stuff out, who maybe sounds kind of similar to this artist that I'm going to be recording. It's
like a mixed reference almost.
Exactly. And I there's an artist reference and then there's a song reference in my mind. I always go into a recording session with those two. And of course I've already made the arrangement. I then pitch the vocal arrangement to the artist.
You've like recorded it by yourself or whatever to show them?
Yeah. I literally in this exact setting is where I would sit and do that. I kind of mix my own vocals in and just tune them a little harder than you'd normally like.
Right.
Just to kind of show that they're here as a guide. Like a pitch guide, basically. And once I pitch them to the artist, they either tell me I love it or I hate it, or I love it here. What you did in the bridge is not necessarily needed. I think maybe we should move those BVs to the chorus and then we're good. Things like that. So we kind of work back and forth that way. But it's all so that when we walk into the recording session for the vocals, we know what's coming out of the day.
That's wild. Do you ever have like, just kind of feel it out sessions where
Oh, yeah.
the artist is like, let me just try like,
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And a lot of that becomes that way. It's not so much so I don't do it so it's rigid or so that there's any sort of structure.
Mhm.
It's mainly so there's a better idea of what the expectations might be for the day,
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing to bring that much information to a session, I find that I'm usually kind of working it out on the fly with artists I'm working with. I mean, it's not my specialty, right? Like I don't write back end vocal parts unless the artist can't come up with something, and then I'll kind of figure out what could be a good harmony there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or I'll have an idea. Sometimes I'll have an idea. I'll even record it in the studio with the artist.
Yeah.
But the preparation is, I think that's next level. That's
I think
super cool.
About, I don't know, I would say for me, 40% of working on a track as a vocal producer for someone is my prep, if they in fact do want me to arrange vocals. But either way, I am going in with a reference. Sometimes I've had artists who just hear all the vocals, demo has background vocals in it, I just want to record these. Still brilliant. I still go in with those references, and you could still
help coach them through the tape.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's really like, it's one of the things I think I actually do well in as like a producer is recording sessions with vocalists and figuring out how much of a drill sergeant I can be or don't have to be.
Yeah.
And like, I think like some people are better at it than others. Yeah, but like I said, like I don't have like there's no formula. It's just like I just have to feel this out with like emotional intelligence.
Yes. Gosh, exactly. Feeling it out with emotional intelligence is so important. And there are so many producers who don't do that.
Right.
No, genuinely. And I think it really comes into play when, like, I always say this, I think that every member of someone's, I guess, production team should be as emotionally invested in the track as the artist, like, or at least have an understanding of where the artist wants it to go, and everyone is working towards a common goal of seeing the artist's vision through, and I'm here to kind of bring my expertise in to help that happen.
Yeah, it's a really good pitch also, right? Like if there's another producer who's working with an artist, and like to get in, like, I'm gonna help you make these vocals sound amazing. That's it's a great little in to like whatever part of the production process you want to get into, or I mean, specifically to do what you're doing, but like get in with other producers and meet people and yeah, work on cool records.
Yeah.
I recorded a vocal session with an artist named Alex Clare. He's a British artist. He lives in Israel also. And it was with this production duo named Deco, who I've actually had on the show. I don't know if you know Deco. And it was like a masterclass in like,
oh, wow,
in like the vocal acting thing that you were kind of talking about, of like, just like they had like the inflection that they wanted on every single note that he's saying, and they just coaxed it out of him. And I think we ended up with like 200 tracks for them to comp for the whole thing. It was insane.
Goodness. Yeah.
Like I've never done that, but like with any of my productions, but it was just crazy to like be in the room and see that, like with like a, relatively major artist and like this like production duo just like had this all in their mind. And it was just being able to see that was like such a learning experience for me.
That's amazing.
Of like how far you can actually push these things.
Yeah.
And for myself, it's probably not how far I would ever push things, but I understand why,
I think it depends on the track and, again, the artist's vision for the song or the album or whatever it is you're working on. If the track is calling for vocal layers and harmonies and like that richness and that depth of, coming from vocals, then absolutely, let's take it there. But, maybe it's a piano ballad where all of the raw emotion just needs to come from a single vocal. It's not always go big or go home. Well, I guess it is, but the meaning kind of changes depending on the track.
Right. I think I just saw like a clip of like Billie Eilish and Phineas like showing David Letterman. Oh yeah, there's actually like there's like 200 vocals in this take, and he's like, what?
Yeah,
you do that?
Yeah,
it's like people don't know how deep you can go.
It's a very meticulous process, and like the approach. I would say the approach, for me anyway, actually becomes quite technical. I am giving creative direction, but, when I really go in depth, especially in post, when I'm melodyning and time aligning and tuning everything and just, nudging things here and there, it's very, very technical.
Yeah.
and that in and of itself is an element of vocal production as well. I know people,
Really?
yeah, well, I know people who, I think kind of the edits is part of the vocal production, because at the end of the day, you are helping create what the final vocals are going to sound like when the track comes out. And, especially if you are automating vocal effects, things like that, that does kind of contribute to production. And yes, I guess, regular producers do that as well. I suppose being a vocal producer is just a little bit more of a niche aspect. And I really think I say this to everyone. I think vocal production, as we, in the kind of, I guess, contemporary way that we know it now, has really come about only in the last, I would say, 20 years, just with the emergence of streaming and the ability for independent artists to just upload their music to have the whole world listen to it. There's so much music that gets uploaded every day, especially in pop. A lot of vocal production that I've seen anyway is quite pop centric. And I think, there's something to be said about, it can go either way. There are artists where I've said earlier, it's these kinds of things are intuitive. That voice acting element of it is intuitive, and how well you know your voice. You could just have that art down basically. Or, you, like I said, you might need a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a reminder or help from someone who is able to characterize your vocal sound and be able to get the best out of you. And with being an engineer as well, I am doing all of these things whilst, physically recording the vocal into Pro Tools. And I guess the more technical side of it is, I guess, picking a mic, the outboard gear. It doesn't change too much, but it does. I do try my best to kind of cater what I'm capturing these vocals with.
Hey everyone, if you're anything like me, then you're an audio engineer, not a web designer. That's why you should be using EasyFunnels to build your studio's website. Here's why EasyFunnels is better for you than Wix or Squarespace. Number one, their audio player is lossless, which means your portfolio will be streamed in high quality WAV format. Number two, their website templates are built 100% for the audio industry. Number three, their built-in scheduling tool allows your clients to book things like calls, meetings, studio time, or studio tours, replacing tools like Calendly. Number four, their built-in e-commerce capabilities let you sell services by the hour, by the song, or with flat rate pricing. You can even sell digital products with auto delivery. Number five, they have built-in email marketing, which completely replaces the need for tools like MailChimp. This means you can finally start building your email list. And now, special for you Secret Sonics listeners, you can get 50% off your first 3 months of EasyFunnels by going to easyfunnels.io/secretsonics. Go check it out. There's a link in the show notes below. All right, back to the episode.
Well, I want to ask you, I had a couple technical questions. I mostly use Melodyne because I can get the most fine-tuned, and it's the most transparent I've found.
Yeah.
What are you like? Is Melodyne your go-to?
Definitely.
Yeah, for everything. What about like Vocaline? I haven't messed around with like Vocaline or whatever. Does that stuff work? Do you find it's glitchy? Like, does it work?
I personally, well, it's funny because I have to be honest. I never started using Vocaline when I started as a vocal producer or started editing people's vocals in the first place because I couldn't afford it. It wasn't. I couldn't buy it, so I had to do this. I have to do it manually. I had to kind of put myself in slip mode and just kind of listen to the vocals, listen to the click, listen to the track. Okay, fine. This needs to be nudged. And then I figure out, okay, she's ahead of the beat every single time. So I'm just going to, what happens if I nudge all this to the left slightly? And then really, just hone in on those things. But, because I did that manually for so long, it just has become part of my workflow. And, I do find that Vocaline sometimes introduces artifacts. I haven't used the other one. Is it Revoice? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, Revoice. Yeah. I haven't used it either.
I haven't tried Revoice. Maybe it's different. Maybe I should try it out. But that's just my experience. And yes, I am using Melodyne. I actually go in and I time everything first, and then I go in with Melodyne usually. And that
makes sense.
And I like to use auto-tune where needed. Not every, it doesn't, tracks don't need it every single time. Again, it kind of depends on where the vision is. On the creative side, but I actually like to use autotune as a tool for me to identify where I haven't melodined something properly. So if I like change my autotune retune speed to 0 with something I melodined, if there's like a glitch, then if I take the autotune and the Melodyne off, if I take the autotune off, it
That happened to me today.
Yeah. Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah.
But it tells
Yeah.
you like, oh, where there's a bit of a you've done a bit of a dodgy job.
tune.
Yeah. Yeah. So then
Wow.
that's kind of how I like to go through with a fine tooth comb.
Will you ever like put the, what's it called, auto-tune after the Melodyne and print it as such? Because it kind of like will smooth out even